So when we're ordering from least to greatest, a couple of things that we want to make sure to do here. First of all, if we have absolute values, we want to see what the actual value of these are. So the absolute value of 3, or the distance from 0 that 3 is just going to be 3. The distance that -4 from 0 is just going to be 4. And the distance that -3.1 would be from 0 is just going to be 3.1. So now that we've done that, now we have all normal numbers here, no absolute values. We have some negatives, some positives, and some fractions. So first things first, let's go ahead and plot 0 because that makes things easiest. I would recommend that you don't necessarily need a number line for this, but it makes it easier because that way when we plot these on the number line, we can then just read them from left to right. And that way we know the order from least to greatest, because as it goes farther to the right on the number line, that means that the value of that number is greater. So we'll plot 0, so we got 0 done with. Now we have 1 also, so let's go ahead and plot 1. Fairly easy. If we plot all of our positives, it'll make it a little bit easier because it'll narrow down our negatives here. And our whole numbers are first because they are the easiest. So if 2 of these here is equal to 1, then we would have 2 here, and 3 would be right here. So we can cross this one out as well. 3.1 isn't a whole number, but we know it's going to be right next to 3 here. So we can label this one as 3.1. Then our last positive number here that is a whole number is going to be 4, which would be right here. So we have one more positive number, and it's 3/8. So we know that 3/8 is less than 1. So even if we're not exactly right on where it's supposed to be at, we know it's in between 0 and 1 here. So we plot it right here on our number line. So what do we have left? We have -12/5, -2/3, and -3/5. So how do we compare these? First of all, we have -12/5, which we can say as a mixed number is going to be 2 and 2/5. Now we know -3/5 and -2/3 is going to be somewhere in between 0 and -1. Whereas -2 and 2/5 is going to be somewhere farther to the left, say right here. And so we can plot -12/5. So now the difficult part here, we come between -3/5 and -2/3. So when we're comparing these two fractions, a really easy way to compare these is to take 3/5 and 2/3 and get a common denominator. Now, a common denominator, the way to find that is we need to know the multiples of the denominators here. So in this case, we have 5 and 3. So multiples are just if we keep adding 5 here or multiplying it by 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and so on. And you could write out a bunch of those. But multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and so on. For 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on and so forth. Again, we could keep going on that. And but the nice part is that once we find a common multiple here of 15, we know that that's what we want our denominator to be for these. So in this case here, the way that we get from -2/3 to something with a denominator of 15 is we don't want to change the value, so we need to multiply this by 1. So if we're going to multiply 3 times 5 to get to 15, we need to multiply this whole thing by 5/5. In this case here, we have 3 times 5, which is 15, and 2 times 5, which is 10. So -2/3 is the same thing as -10/15. Now with -3/5, again, we need to multiply by something to get to 15. So we're going to multiply by 3, but we want to keep the same value, so we multiply by 3/3. So 5 times 3 is 15, 3 times 3 is 9, and it is still negative. So we know that -3/5 is equal to -9/15. Now, again, we know that these are going to land somewhere in between 0 and -1. And what we need to realize is that if we were counting by -1/15, it would go negative 1/15, negative 2/15, negative 3/15, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, negative 9/15. And then right after that would be negative 10/15. So if we're going to see, okay, what's the order from least to greatest, we're now just going to read from left to right. We have negative 2 2/5, which is also negative 12/5 from our beginning number here. Then we keep going and we have negative 10/15, which is negative 2/3. Then we have negative 9/15, which is negative 3/5. Then we have 0. Then we have 3/8. Then we have 1. Then we have 3. Then 3.1. And then 4. So that is the order from least to greatest.